What up, what up, what up? Welcome back, everybody. License the Ball. Hope y'all had a great weekend. It's Sunday night, and I'm doing the recaps of all the Sunday games. As usual, very entertaining, but enough of the talking. Let's get right to it. We did the Giants the other day, and today we got the Broncos. Let me see. Hold up. I mean, this was just a terrible game. I mean, not for the Broncos. I mean, they had a good defensive game, but I know you guys see that -10. That is not a glitch. -10 passing yards. Let's move that screen up here a little bit. Hold up. The Jets are 0-6. And I don't know what they're going to do. Let me adjust that for y'all so y'all can see the whole thing. I got filled up. Pause. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, I mean, Broncos had an average game too. They didn't do that well, but the thing about them is they can turn it up when it needs to, when they need to. Bo Nix can do what he do when they need to. And that's why they're 4-2. They show up week in and week out. But the Jets, oh man, they should have never fired. I mean, look, I get firing Saleh, but they should have kept him as defensive coordinator. But for this game, it doesn't even matter. I mean, 82 total yards, -10 yards passing, the third lowest in team history. The Broncos leaned on defense and special teams for the win. And Justin Fields was sacked 9 times. He was sacked 9 times. So, man, that's pretty. It's not too good. Not too good. All right, so let's go to the Cardinals. This was a pretty good offensive battle. Let me see. This is a pretty good offensive battle. Of course, Indianapolis, went crazy. Daniel Jones did what he had to do, 205 yards passing. Let's see what his actual stats are. That's the team passing, which usually is the quarterback, but let me pull him up too, because Indy's on a roll. And the thing about the Cardinals is they didn't even have Kyler Murray. And they played a better game than they had with Kyler Murray. Jacoby Brissett, obviously, he's a journeyman. He can definitely give you the numbers when you need it and let your team stay afloat. But, I mean, I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do. They're 2-4. Their franchise quarterback's hurt. Their defense is hit or miss. They're just an inconsistent team. And the Colts are still rolling 5-1, 4-0 at home. And of course, Daniel Jones is lights out. Jonathan Taylor, lights out. I mean, they just got such a well-rounded team. Their defense needs to do a little bit better, but you can't complain. They just have an overall well-rounded team, and I'm excited to see how far they go in the AFC. But the Cardinals, man, they might have to just completely clean house with everybody. Maybe keep Marvin Harrison, but, I don't know. I mean, yep. And then we got our friends here in LA, the Chargers. I'm cool with them. I'm cool with the LA Chargers and the LA Rams, but, I'm Team Commanders, which will be Monday night. We're going to do some more coverage on that. But the Chargers, let's see what they did today. Oh, Chargers versus the Dolphins. 29-27, 20 first downs versus 19 for the Dolphins. 263 passing yards. And I actually watched part of that game. Um, Actually, I watched pretty much most of the games, if not all. Uh, Tua, he put up some decent yardage, but he threw 3 interceptions, and those were the only 3 turnovers by the Dolphins. So, um, yeah, I don't want to sound like a Tua hater, but I've been, I've been kind of critical of him. I really want him to do well. I really, am a fan of the previous years where him and McDaniels were, lighting up the scoreboard together. Him, Tyreek Hill, who's out, obviously Waddle. Uh, but Tua's messing up, man. Tua's messing up. Um, and this could be because the Chargers are the Chargers, and honestly, they were behind. They had a late game rally, Um, they were behind. But if Tua doesn't even throw 2 of those interceptions or certain things, it, they just wouldn't even be in this situation. They're 1-5. Um, like I always said, and like Jeremy said, I don't think McDaniels is going to make it to the end of the year. I'd be surprised if he does, but we'll see about that. I just don't. I don't see it happening. So, you know, good luck to that. All right, and then we got the Pats. The Pats versus the Saints. Listen, people sleeping on Spencer Rattler. He's actually doing okay. Spencer Rattler is actually doing all right. He's kind of entertaining to watch. He's kind of finding his groove. Do we see him as a full-time starter? I don't know. But he's holding down the fort. The problem is the Saints are just an overall bad team. But I'm not saying that if they had a better team, he'd be a world-class quarterback. He's okay. He's all right, Drake May doing what Drake May does, super balanced, delivering when it mattered. And the Saints kind of try to make it a little bit close. They made it respectable. They did better than I thought they would do. But the Pats were going to win that. And now look at here. These folks are 4-2. The Patriots, who've been a laughing stock since Tom Brady have left, are now 4-2 with the respectable quarterback. This is going to be really interesting to see. The AFC is starting to get a lot of contenders coming in, trying to make themselves known. Because the Ravens, which were like pretty much always guaranteed a playoff berth the past 3-4 years, are completely out of it. We'll get to that later, but they are done. And I've said this in a few other videos, but I guess I'll repeat it. You got other teams emerging: the Chargers, the Patriots, the Colts. The Broncos. That was the other one I was thinking for. These are teams that generally you don't expect to make a deep playoff run. But if they play the way they're playing now, the playoffs are going to be very, very entertaining. Instead of just waiting for the Chiefs and the Ravens or the Bills to make it to the AFC title game, it could be any one of these guys if they maintain their consistency. It's good. It's good because, again, you have 3 different levels. You have the bottom of the barrel, you have the mid-tier, so that's 4 levels. Then you have the mid to top tier, and then you have like the top that you kind of have the highest expectation for. The Chargers and those other teams I mentioned, they're battling between the mid and top mid, but they're getting closer and closer. Are they going to be on the level of the Bills and the Chiefs when they're at their best? I don't think so. But hey, man, the sky's the limit with these guys. They're all young. They got a lot of potential. We can see how it goes when the season plays off. So definitely proud of the Pats for really finally being able to be a respectable team post Tom Brady and even Belichick era. Even though Belichick's last few years were pretty terrible, but it is what it is. By the way, I heard, I don't know if this article is real or not, but UNC is negotiating a buyout with Belichick already. I don't know how true that is, but I don't follow too much college football, so We'll see. Go Herd, though. Go Marshall Thundering Herd. All right. And we got the Browns. This was a very interesting game. Dillon Gabriel had 52 passing attempts. 52 passing attempts. I mean, what are you going to do with that? Seriously, what you going to do with that? 6 points? 6 points with 52 passing attempts. I'm not even going to say anything about Shedeur. You guys know how I feel about that. I just feel like they got to put him in there. They just got to put him in there. What do they got to lose? They're not really giving him a fair shot. But again, I said I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. and this is nothing against Dillon Gabriel. So let's talk about who's on the field right now. Dillon Gabriel's not a bad quarterback, but he's not a good quarterback. So it's like, I just don't. I mean, that's crazy. 52 passing attempts. Only 221 yards, averaging 4.3 yards per attempt. Meanwhile, you got Aaron Rodgers, 235 yards passing, 30 attempts, 7.8 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 115 rating. I mean, Aaron he I wouldn't say that's prime Aaron, but he's doing good. You know, Steelers are moving along, another AFC team, but even the Steelers, you know, you already know where they're at. They're just always a playoff team, but they never go far. So, you know, you think that's going to happen this year? I don't know. But the Browns, of course, are in trouble as usual. We say this every year. That's why Myles Garrett wanted to be out, but he got the money, so I guess he stuck with them, you know. And I guess sometimes you got to choose your generational wealth over a chance at a Super Bowl, taking a pay cut. You know, like Tom Brady, you know, he was getting paid no matter what. He was taking pay cuts. Patrick Mahomes took some pay cuts, even though he got paid crazy. But, you know, I don't think his annual salary matches any of the top QBs in the league. I think even Tua is the highest paid, if you know. So what I was saying was, some people, they just got to do what they got to do. So I hope things can turn around for Cleveland, just for guys like Myles Garrett, world-class players like that. But it's we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know the Browns aren't going anywhere this year, and it'd be good to see who gets some reps in. But what do I know? And the Cowboys. The Cowboys, they lost. I picked them to win it, but they lost. They lost. And the Panthers, they are 3-0 at home. 3-0 at home. I think that's the best in the league. I'm surprised they're even 500. Bryce Young, he was all right, but Dowdle, is that how you say his name? He got his revenge. If you guys don't know, the Cowboys cut him. They cut that running back. Rico Dowdle. They cut him, and he got his revenge. He definitely got his revenge. And they I mean, look, you already knew the Cowboys' defense was bad, right? So we kind of expected them to have at least a rushing field day. But you thought that as good as Dak Prescott has been playing, that would be enough to overcome the Panthers as a team. And Prescott did good. 261, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 124 QB rating. And Bryce Young did all right too. 199 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, but it's the rushing that stole the show. Dowdle, he got his shine on. He really did well. He got his revenge on the Cowboys. And the Cowboys are reeling. 2-3-1. They are reeling. You still kind of don't know who they are because they played really good games. They almost beat the Eagles. They almost beat the Packers. And you'd be like, okay, this team has promise. But now they're just losing. 2-3-1, I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs this year. And it most likely will be because of their defense. And if that's the case, you can't give Prescott the MVP. You just can't. So, yeah, Cowboys in a lot of trouble as usual, but I didn't think they'd be in trouble this early, So, but yep, we'll see what happens with that. Okay. So now we got the Seahawks versus Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence sacked 7 times. Sam Darnold did what he had to do, no turnovers. And, the Jaguars had trouble moving the ball a little bit. But at the end of the day, Lawrence, he threw for 2 touchdowns, 258 yards. It's just that the Seahawks are a better team than the Jacksonville. That's just the bottom line. But Jacksonville has flashes of greatness. Just because they did beat the Chiefs. They were 4-1 coming into the game. They're a decent team, but when they fold, they fold. But I'm still not sold on the Seahawks either. And why? Because guess what I always say? What did Sam Darnold do? What did Sam Darnold do when he was with the Vikings? They had the best record in the league, and then he completely tanked in the playoffs. So I'm waiting for you, Darnold. I want to see what you can do when it really matters. Not to say that these games don't matter, but they're moving along well. They're having great regular season with him at the helm as usual, and he's a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but we will see when the playoffs come. If Seattle end up managing 12, 13, 14 wins, it does not matter because we've seen this show before. So congratulations to them. I don't want to throw any shade, but we got to see what happens. Okay, let me see. And the Rams versus the Ravens. Not much to see here. The Rams actually didn't play that well today, but they can afford a bad day. It's against the Ravens. 3 turnovers. They tried to rely on Henry, which is as they should. He got about 100 yards. He did okay, but the team is just bad. The team is just terrible. And here's the crazy part. They weren't that good when they had most of their starters, right? But now without Lamar, they are really, really bad. Because when they had most of their starters, a lot of people did pick them to win the Super Bowl, but I always knew their defense was the Achilles heel, even with all their starters. But now their defense doesn't have anyone when they were already bad beforehand, and Lamar's hurt. So what are you going to do? But that's why I say the Rams I was expecting a shootout, especially the way Matthew Stafford's been playing. I think he passed Dan Marino in some type of stat line and the most yards passing or something like that. So yeah, I expected a shootout, but hey, they won. They're 4-2. In my opinion, they're still the most complete NFC team, aside from the Eagles and who else? The Packers. But there's some other people coming up, and the Lions too. But we'll get to the Lions here in a little bit. But I still think the Lions are a complete team too. But we'll get to them. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Where do I start? First of all, Baker Mayfield is literally willing this team. He is willing this team. And Mac Jones threw 2 interceptions with 0 touchdowns, but he threw for 347 yards. So I could say, he's starting to look like the old Mac Jones. Quarterback controversy. I still think I like him better than Purdy, but they paid Purdy. So who knows what's going to happen after this game, what they're going to do, or when Purdy's going to come back. Because if Mac Jones has another bad game, they're going to have to throw Purdy in there. They paid him. But then we'll see what Purdy does. I mean, it doesn't matter because they're still 4-2. They got time to figure it out. They're a solid team. Their defense did not show up today. But, I mean, it was against Mayfield. But it's surprising because Mayfield didn't have Goodwin. He didn't have Evans, of course. And there are a couple other injuries too. But he still showed up to play. He still showed up to play. And I think they need to start putting Mayfield in the MVP conversation. You know, everybody wants to talk about Daniel Jones. Everybody wants to talk about Dak Prescott. What about Baker Mayfield? It's time we put him in the MVP conversation. He is balling out this year, and he was balling out last year when he went with Tampa Bay, but now like this is his team. He found his home after all the scrutiny and things that he went through. Of course, dealing with the Browns and other teams. Carolina, he needs to be in the MVP conversation. So definitely Tampa Bay. They're right there with the Rams as one of the most complete teams in the NFC, and we'll see what happens later on down the year if they can maintain that. But they are doing really good, and Mayfield is leading the way. So we need to put him in the MVP conversation. All right. Speaking of complete teams in the NFC, what did I tell you about Goff? What did I tell y'all about Goff? First of all, let's read the stats here. 17 to 30, 18 first downs, 36 to the Chiefs, 199 pass yards for the Lions, 243 for the Chiefs, 98 rushing yards, 112. And I don't want to completely blame this on Goff, okay? He didn't throw any interceptions. But I just feel like he didn't make the plays that need to be made to get the Lions where they needed to go. But also, we have to also blame the Lions defense. Or I don't know if you should blame the Lions defense or if you should say the Chiefs are for real. You know, it's a lot of things that it's a lot of analysis that you can say because from that game. You could say, oh, Steve Spagnuolo threw the Lions offense in a loop. Or you could say Patrick Mahomes proved why Kansas City is still for real. Because he threw for 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Got sacked a few times, but he even added 32 yards rushing with another touchdown. Literally, he cooked on Detroit's defense. He was eating. So we got to put him back in the MVP conversation. I mean, I know you're tired of hearing it, but 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, that's 28 points. Well, actually, you don't count the field goal, so that's 24 points, all from Patrick Mahomes. I didn't mean to say Patty, no disrespect to do, but he's the real deal, and he's showing why, in my opinion, I still think he's the best quarterback in the league. So Detroit folded in the big moment once again. Same with last year when they lost to Washington. Same with the year before when they lost, I think it was to the Rams. Or it was Tampa Bay, one of those teams. It was 2 years ago. They fold in the big moments. You can blame Goff. You can blame their defense. You can blame their offense. You can blame Dan Campbell always gambling. Detroit does not win the big moments. They don't win the big games. If they did, they would be in the Super Bowl by now because they're stacked. They are a well-rounded team. But after this loss, they definitely need to do some soul searching because one minute they'll put up 52 points. The next minute they'll get ran through. Bad terminology. They'll get run over, So we need to see them win against the big dogs. We need to see them win when it matters because we always look at them as the big dog. But when it comes down to it, they come up short. So hopefully they can figure that out because it would be nice to see them make a deep playoff run. Obviously not at the expense of my Commanders. But yeah, so something to look at. Definitely put Patrick back in the MVP conversation. He put up a lot of numbers for all you fantasy guys. They're probably really happy about that. Cool. And then we got the Bills game tomorrow and the Commanders game tomorrow. So looking forward to that. Thank you guys for watching my Week 6 recap. I'll see you guys later.